Hi everyone and welcome to Stamp with Angela. I'm Angela Palmer and I'm excited to be here with you today for my weekly Facebook and YouTube live. So thank you for joining me, whether you're watching this live or you're watching the recording later. I hope you enjoy today, you're inspired, you learn some tips, get to see new product and things or stamping up product, and you enjoy what we're creating today. So if you are watching on YouTube, please feel free to subscribe to my channel and then you'll be kept up to date with other videos and things as well. So if you are here live, let me know where you're from and I appreciate you joining me. Even if in the recording too, you can also comment and let me know where you're from. I'd love to know who's joining me today. All right, so today I thought I would do some colouring with the Stampin Blends. So earlier this week I had coffee and cards, and we make a couple of more simple cards. Obviously I can't take all my craft supplies and everything with me, so we make a couple of note cards, and we used the Country Flowers stamp set and we did some colouring with blends. Some people have coloured with blends before, but for many they were using them for the first time. And the great thing with blends is you can do a little bit of shading and sort of make it, all blending and have the contrast of darks or light, and it looks really, really effective. We also recently used the Stampin Blends at our Auckland extravaganza for our project as well. So I've been using blends a little bit recently, and so I thought I would share some ideas with you today and share some tips. If you're in my newsletter this week, I share exclusive tutorials and things there. I also shared some tips on using Stampin Blends. So if you're not getting my newsletter, I encourage you to sign up, and you'll get some tips and exclusive information as well as details of what's going on. All right, wonderful. Hi, Andrea, welcome. Thank you for joining us, and anyone else who is live here today, thank you for being here. So I'm going to go over to my crafting table and show you what we're using and then what we're going to be creating with today. All right, here we go. So as you can see, I've got some Stampin Blends here, just a few. So we're going to colour with these. The stamp set that we're going to use is this Country Flowers. So I've done quite a few Christmassy things recently. I thought let's do something that's non-Christmassy. So we're using this beautiful stamp set. You can use it quite easily on its own. But there are dies that coordinate with it as well, cutting out some of the images like the teapot and the flowers, the table, the can as well. And you can mix and match. So you might, want the flowers in the teapot or the flowers in the can or on the table. You probably need it in something, not just on the table. You've got the leaves here, and you've got these flowers with the roses and things too. And a range of sentiments, which are quite nice too. And then there's other dies that you can add extra sort of touches to your creations as well. All right, so some of the other things that we're going to use today, so all these are in the annual catalogue, which is this one here. So we're actually using things from the Country Woods suite. So in this suite there's 2 stamp sets. We're using the Country Flowers, which I've just shown you, and I'm also going to show you the paper that we're using, which are a little bit from each one of these. So we've got 2 papers. We've got the Country Woods, which are like wood grains and things, and then we've got the Country Lace, which are like that. It's a little bit harder to see in the catalogue, so I'm going to show you some actual papers. So this is the Country Wood, so you can see the wood grain on it, and a range of kind of colours. Is that? Have we had that one before? Like so. So they're the wood grains, and then if I flip them over, you'll see, is the one I'm using here. I might have pulled it out because I was using it. I know we're using this one here, just a very small part of it. So that is the Country Wood, and then there's also the Country Lace, which are similar colours, not the brown so much, but a bit more delicate. So you've got your pinks, which is your Petal Pink, your Pool Party, your Misty Moonlight, a bit of Pecan Pie, which I think is on the other side. basic beige, and then some smoky slate, which is the nice greys and things. So they're the designs on one side. So have a look at that pattern, because there's an embossing folder that is very similar to that too. So I'm going to flip it over, and you've got more greys and beige, and your greys is your smoky slate, and some more simpler patterns, I guess. But very nice paper. So they're in the annual catalogue. So what I'm going to use today is, like I said, that little bit for my table, and then I'm going to use this one here. So let me show you what we're going to create, and then I'm going to give you some tips and things to do with colouring with blends. So let me know, have you coloured much with blends before or not? So I'm just going to have a look at some of the messages. Oh great, we've got more people here now. Natalie, Linda, hi, sorry, Suzanne, wonderful. Great to see some more people here. If I've missed your name, apologies. Okay, so this is the card that we're going to do. So I've chosen to go with a couple of colours that are in the paper. So I've got the Misty Moonlight and the Smoky Slate, and you can see the DSP here. And this, believe it or not, is the DSP as well. So depending on where you cut it, depends on how much of sort of that wood grain pattern that you get. Now for this card, I have coloured and then die cut them out, but you can quite easily do some beautiful cards without needing to die cut, which is what I did for coffee and cards. So let me just show you some simple designs. So this one I've just done on note cards, and it's white on white. So here is the can and then the flowers, and that's just stamped straight on and then coloured. So there's that one. I've done this one here with the teapot, and again, and so there's two different flowers that you can choose from. And then the third one is another teapot. So, but I've gone for more of a monochromatic colour with my flowers, just kept to sort of the calypso coral, whereas this bunch is, you know, variety of colours. So it's up to you how you want to do it. And then you'll see also, you know, if you're using this, obviously that's a bit taller than the teapot. This flower is not as high, but if you go for this one, it's a bit taller. So if you put that and that together, it would be, you know, a taller image. So you can play around and mix up, you know, which combinations you like. And what I'll do is I'll show you how to stamp these two together without die cutting, and then we'll do some stamping where I'm actually going to die cut them out as well. Yeah, so it's great to see some of you. Linda likes the wood grain DSP. It is really nice. Suzanne likes colouring with the blends. And yeah, the watercolour pencils are great too. So yes, always nice, you know, colouring things. Okay, so let me just show you some stamping if you want to just keep it simple and stamp it onto something and then not cut it out. So you can see the different combinations. Now, a little tip, when I did these cards, I actually worked from the top down. I stamped my flowers first because I didn't want to make my pot too high and then they wouldn't fit in. And then depending on how much space, depended on the size of the sentiment, but it depends on your card and how much, you know, space you've got. So I'm going to use my Memento ink, and let's, whoops, I just dropped a die on the floor, which I'm going to need shortly, the teapot. Pick that up. Okay, so let's go with this bunch of flowers there. I might just do it that way, then I can see how much black is on. All right, so we're going to stamp that, and I really should have a matte because it is photopolymer. And although I like using my glass matte, the glare with the lights for the filming, you know, don't work quite so well. Oops. Right. So where did I put my stamp? Here. So let's do that. And you'll notice when you come to use the teapot and stuff, you can't really notice on the stamp, but if you look at the image, there's no line here. And the same with, well, there is that on the can or not? Yeah, there is, but there's space for the flowers to go around it, kind of thing. Now, with the teapot, it's one of those stamps where there's a gap in the middle, so you could quite easily sort of make it a funny shape. So what I recommend you do is put it down, let it make its shape, and then put your block over the top, and then it should be the right shape. If you want to be doubly sure, if you're cutting it out, you could put your die down. Now, it doesn't sit on it exactly because there's that there, but you can kind of place it and see if it's the right sort of shape. It's sticking to me. Kind of make sure it fits, and then put it in the block. But usually just putting it down and lifting it up that way works quite well. Now this is for a card when you want it, you just want to stamp and you don't want to cut it out. Isn't that cool? So now you can see it looks like one continuous thing, like I stamped it all in once, but it was all in one, but it was actually done in 2 parts. So that's how I did it for these other cards, okay? Now for today, I'm going to do it and I'm going to cut them out. So I'm going to stamp them separately. So there's my teapot. So now you can definitely see that gap. And I'm going to give you some tips for colouring with blends. Okay, nice. Is there anything else I need to stamp? Oh, we'll do our sentiment afterwards. Okay, so tips for colouring. Now, with the Stampin Blends, there are 2 ends. So you've got a thick tip and a thin tip. So this is, I've got here Smoky Slate, which is one of the colours in the paper. And you'll see here thin and thick. So you need to be careful with the thick end. That brush is great. But if you give it a lot of use, I'm not sure if this one's okay. It can get damaged eventually. You've got to be careful. Like that. See how that one's, really had its been, a workout. So you do need to be careful. So you've got the thin end and then the thick end. Now they're alcohol based. So if you leave the lids off, walk away, or not quite close them properly, they will dry up. So they are stiff to open because we want a nice tight fit. So just bear that in mind. And if you're wondering why they are hard to open, it's so they don't dry out. Okay. Just looking at comments. Do I use a foam mat when using the glass mat? No. If you're using the glass mat, you use that instead of the foam mat. It's just because of I've got a trestle table here, and it does not stamp so well on. So I either use the glass mat or this foam mat, but not both. You don't need to. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to colour sort of around the edge first to make sure I don't go over the lines. And whoops, she says, and she's going over the line slightly. And I like to use the light colour first. Actually going to colour that in. Now, if you don't want to show lines, if you sort of do circle patterns, then you don't get lines. But let me sort of show you over here. If I'm using the thick tip and I'm doing that, you might see lines, but if you're sort of doing circles, then it kind of blends together a bit more. So let's have a go at that. So I'm sort of doing circles. So this is the lighter Smoky Slate. Saying that for this, I could quite easily do lines too, but we'll just go with the circle pattern. So I have used the thicker one there just to fill in a big space. Also, if you are blending 2 colours with lights and darks, don't do a huge bit and then come back later and hope to blend the colours because it will dry. Try and work in smaller areas to start with. Okay, now what I'm going to do is come in with my darker colour, and where these sort of lines are, I'm going to add a bit more darker definition, and I want it to have a bit of shading. Can you see how that is darker on that side? It's like, the way the light shows in some parts are darker and things. So don't be put off when I first do this if it looks really obvious. So I'm gonna just trying to decide if I want to do the thick end or thick. So that doesn't look so good because it looks really obvious, right? But don't panic. We'll sort it out. So that was my dark. Now I'm going to come back with my light and I'm going to go over the top of it and I'm going to kind of blend those together more, and then the line is not so obvious. It's sort of more of a subtle dark to light. Now I can still see a bit of a difference there, but as it dries a bit more, hopefully it will be a bit more subtle. If not, I can sort of go over the side a bit more and then just darker. But can you definitely see how that side is, darker? I'm just going to bring in a bit more darkness right on the edge. Yeah. Okay, now you'll also notice that I've got that little design. You could leave your teapot just like that, or if I can find my little stamp, you can stamp that on the top as well. So let me just do that. There we go. And then I've just coloured in each of those bits a bit darker. So I'm reasonably happy with my teapot there. Can you see that shading of the dark to light? And it's fairly subtle in things. All right. Okay. Now for my flowers. So you can see this one here, I've used a variety of flowers. This one I've used kind of more just my Calypso coral. This one is a different combination again. So I did those two different. This one I've done them kind of the same. Totally up to you. But what I'm going to do is start with my light colors and then come in with my dark colors afterwards. What other tips do I need to give you with using blends? Oh, the other thing I guess is try not to store them upright like this, because all the ink will go down one end and then it'll probably be the other end that you need to use. So try and store them flat. Okay, that's probably another good thing to remember. So let's start off with this flower. I'm going to use my light Calypso coral. I'm going to use my thin end and I'm going to colour it in. So I'm going around the edges first. That way, hopefully I won't go over the line. And you know what? Actually, I just remembered, usually I do my leaves first so I can find them. But we'll do this flower, then we'll go back and do my leaves. All right. So that's very pretty like that. You could leave it like that. There's a bit of white there. But let's add a bit of blending contrast. Now, the Calypso coral is this dark, is quite dark, and it's really obvious, but don't panic. Okay, so I'm sort of going around the middle bit. All right, so like that. That kind of looks a little bit awkward and a little bit too obvious, yeah? But don't panic. Now I'm going to come back in with my light. And I'm sort of just going to colour again and just try and blend those colours together a bit more. So sort of circle motions, colour it in so that we'll give it a bit of time, see if it sort of dries a bit more. And then I need my yellow to do the middle. So whether you want dark or not. Light yellow, I don't know. We'll just put that in. We'll do that one while we're here. Okay, I'm now going to go back and do my leaves because it's easier to find them all now. Definitely using the thinner end. And I've got Old Olive, and I think I've got the light one. So it says here if it's light or, if I get around the right way, dark. So they come in pairs, a light and a dark. So you need to buy them both together. So try and balance out your using so you don't wear off one more than the other. Otherwise it does get a little tricky. Okay, no pressure here, colouring on camera. I'm not doing the greatest job because it's not quite as close as I would usually do because of the camera, but there's a leaf up there that I often forget. Okay, so you can see that has blended in a bit more. Maybe not quite as much as that one, but it's not as shocking as it was before. I think that's all my leaves. We'll soon find out. Okay, let's go with the red roses. So we'll go, I might just go with the lighter one first. When it's something small, you can't add a lot of sort of blending because there's not a lot of space to kind of contrast the two, but we will keep going. All right. So what kind of things have you coloured with your Stampin' Blends? Have you coloured flowers or other images? I'd love to know. And there is a bit of a squeaky noise with this, which I know some people don't like so much. So just, now it's hard to know if that bottom one is a leaf or part of the flower. I'm just going to make it part of the flower. And what I might do is just come in and sort of where the lines are, just go over a bit darker. It will be very kind of subtle. Here we go. And then just go back to find some bits I've missed. All right, so I did this one here in purple. I used Highland Heather. So like I said before, we're going to go with the lighter color first. And I like to sort of go around the edges. So I try and keep within the lines. And Just remember when you finish to put the lids on so they don't dry out. Okay, now I can colour inside. We'll sort of do some circles to avoid the lines too much. Look for any bits I've missed. Okay, now let's come in with that contrast with the darker. And just sort of in this area here, I'm going to add a bit more contrast with the dark. So that looks quite obvious, not too bad. And then I'm just going to kind of go over the top just to blend those colours in a bit more, just to give that sort of, gradual transition rather than a sudden dark light. But I think that looks quite cool. Right, the question is for that one, do I make it the same colour or should we try something else? We've got quite a few colours in there. I think I might just go for the same colour just for the... Well, that one was different. I don't know. What do you reckon? I guess it's sort of a similar shape flower. Let's just colour it in the same for the sake of time and ease. I didn't go around the edges of that one first, did I? Okay, so that's just the light colour. We'll go in with a bit of dark. I think I did the inside flowers dark. This particular one, I'm wondering if my light is a little bit older from an earlier set and this is a newer one because there's quite a strong contrast between the two. Then I'm going to kind of blend over the top again, so it's a bit more subtle. How's that? Cool? All right, so some things to remember when you're colouring. So one is, store your blends flat. Remember you've got the two ends, the thin or the thick. Start off with the lighter, then go with the darker. And if you're getting that contrast, then come back with the light again. You can get that nice shading like this. Start with the light, go over with the dark, then blend the sort of two colours together. What else did I say? Obviously the lids are tight. Make sure you don't leave them open and stuff. You don't want them to dry out. And if you don't want lines to be obvious, then sort of do that circle motion and just work on a small area at once. Don't do too much because if you try and blend darks and lights, it's not going to work too well. All right, so you'll notice on my card I've got this table. So that was from this little scrap piece. So all I did was I got my Memento black ink and I stamped the table directly onto it like so, and then I cut it out with that die. Okay, so I didn't have to colour it. You could colour it, and then it's done with the designer series paper. While we're here and we've got the ink out, let's do a sentiment. So I've done a happy birthday. So I wanted the focus to be my flowers and things. So I've just gone with a nice simple one there from the Simply Said stamp set. So I'm just going to stamp my happy birthday on. This is really just an offcut from when I have cut pieces for my card. Like so. And then I've just trimmed the edges slightly at an angle. Hopefully that's okay. All right, then I'm going to die. Let's move all my blends out the way. So now I'm going to come in and do some die cutting. So I might just cut those off. And I've just got my little machine today. So remember, if you've got a little machine, if you put all your plates in together like that, it's hard for it to push through because they're all together. If you put the second one back, then it kind of bevels in place more easily. So let's put these in. So I'm just going to do one at a time to hopefully, line it up best. And I'm going to use a bit of tape to hold it in place. Is this the right die? Yep, just got to work out which way it goes. All right, so try and get, can you see what I'm doing? Try and get it even around all the edges. Think that works. Might just put another piece on to hope for the best. Right, I'm going to pull my little plate back, put that over the top and wind it through. So that was my flowers. Whoops, sorry, shaking the table with this. So like I say, you can just stamp directly on and not use the dies. That's what we did for coffee and cards. Oh, that looks nice. That was good lining up. The tape does help. All right, now we're going to do our teapot, and hopefully I got the stamp on the stamp set all nice. So teapot, where is my teapot? Here it is. So we'll put that on. Sorry if my hands are in the way. I'll just line it up and then I'll try and show you what I'm doing. Not too worried about up there because that'll be covered by the flowers, but I think that's good. We'll soon see. Put that on and cut it out. You can see it. There we go. So just want to be careful. This is removable tape, but obviously I don't want to rip it. So I'll be careful. And then we've got a little table to do as well. Unless I've got one that I did earlier. So let's quickly put that last one through, and then it's just a matter of assembling our card. All right, lining up our table. So I love the way that the stamps and dies match. I mean, one could, fussy cut this out, and sometimes there are some things like the stamp we used at Extravaganza didn't have a die. When you're fussy cutting, then you do appreciate the dies. But obviously, I can't have them for every stamp set. All right. Okay. So Linda likes the technique and the flowers. Which technique is that, Linda? Sorry, your comments from before and I didn't see it. Okay. So now I've got all the bits, I think. So we've got our flowers, our teapot, our table, nice, and our happy birthday. So if you look at my card, I have embossed it with this folder here, which is kind of like the same design as the paper that we're using. So that is the Eyelet 3D embossing folder. And so this is what it looks like here. Now I'm just trying to find my card, guys. Here it is. Okay. Oh, what's that? Something's here. Okay, so I'm going to stick this onto here first. The reason I'm sticking this on, if it happens to stick out a bit at the bottom, then I can trim it. All right, let's get some glue from over here. So this is the smoky slate. Sometimes with your glue, that can kind of stick on it and it doesn't come out. Or sometimes you need to get your little pokey thing to get it going again. So I'm just using a paper clip to get it going again. And then, oh, look at that, see? And the other thing I do is store it upside down, so then it's always ready to go. Okay, so let's put that on like so. Just need to move it up the top just a fraction. There we are. I can't see anything there to cut, so that looks pretty good. And so we're going to put that on the front like so. And then we're going to put on our table and flowers and stuff with dimensionals, and then add some embellishments to finish it off. Okay, there we go. So I'm going to work out where I want my happy birthday. You could try it at the top if you wanted. Let's just see how that looks. I tend to like my sentiments at the bottom, but what do you reckon? No, we need a teapot before the flowers. So you could kind of do it like that. Or what do you reckon? Top or bottom? Tell me what you think. And I'm going to add some linen thread to it as well. Oh, the shading and the blending technique. So that's cool. Yep. What do you reckon? Top or bottom? So as you are thinking, I'm going to put some dimensionals on the back ready, and then we'll decide where we place them. We could do one of each, I guess, and then decide which we like. So we'll put on a couple of these. Now, you do notice with the blends, they do come through, okay? But we're sticking it on something, so that's not a problem. But just be aware, like if you were doing it on the note card and you were doing it on the actual layer, you will see it underneath. So bear that in mind. Where are my little ones? Here, no, they're big ones. Okay. I've got mini ones somewhere, but okay, we'll just go with this. And what I'm going to do is we might just cut a couple in half for the legs, because I do have minis, but they've gone walkies. All right, so those there, maybe a little bit on the actual teapot spout, and a very thin bit on the handle, just so the handle doesn't come off. Top, okay. Anyone else want to answer? Linda reckons top, so we could try that to be different. All right, so let's work our way up. I always like taking these off with my Take Your Pick tool, because I don't really have nails with playing the piano. Okay, so we'll put that there. Do it in the right order. Did I take these off? Oh, these ones aren't highlighted, so it's a little bit harder to know if I took the backings off. Whoops, I took the whole thing off that one. Just need to move that around a bit. Teapot next. And do you like the can or do you like the teapot? Is that straight? Oh yeah, I think so. And obviously not too near the bottom, because it's got to sit on the table. And then our flowers. So what do you like, the teapot or the can? Right, let's get it up the right way. So this is going to, and the same for this. I shouldn't have put it too low, because I want it to sort of overlap like so. Very good. All right, I'm going to use some of these ones around the edge on my sentiment. And we'll put it up the top this time. There, or a little bit higher. Maybe there. And I left a bit because we don't want to be too close to the edge. All right, cool. And then to finish off, we're going to do a double bow, and then we're nearly done. Did anyone else? Top? Both. I'm not sure what both was for, Linda. Appreciate you commenting and things with us. That's cool. All right, so what I'm doing with my linen thread is so the end is here. I'm winding it around my fingers twice. So I've got one piece that finishes at the bottom, one at the top, and then I'm going to tie it around the middle. It's a little bit hard to hold oneself, so I'm going to get a glue dot to help me. Get rid of those. So a glue dot, I'm actually just going to stick it down there. Where is it? Still on the end. Doesn't want to come. All right, I'm going to put another piece there. Put that over the top, and that holds it. And then I'm going to tie a bow. No, not a bow, just a knot. Sorry, just tie a knot. Ta-da! All right, then if you need to trim any of the lengths, you can. I'll get another glue dot to put it onto my card. I'm going to put it up by the happy birthday, but I still want to see my happy birthday. Cool. And then embellishments. I wasn't quite sure what embellishments to use with this, because color-wise, but I did find these ones, which are the Earth Tone Summer Gems. So on this one, I think I use that. Maybe we'll try this one this time, see how it looks. So slightly more white. 1, 2, sort of in a diamond shade. I feel it's too busy, so I need to kind of put it over here somewhere. 3, maybe. Like so. All right, let's compare the two. Okay, we'll get all the other bits out of the way. So there we go. We've got our sentiment at the bottom or our sentiment at the top. That kind of balances it quite nicely. This one is obviously more space there. Is there one that you like more? But I think that's quite cool. So obviously you can try different things. You can try the can. You can try the other flowers. lots of ways to mix and match and try different things with this set. So you can quite easily stamp with it. Remember, it's designed to be able to stamp one then the other without, and then you've got all the dies and things too. I just want to show you something else with the blends. So last week on my live, I made a card using the reindeer. So I made it with this. It was a little bit rushed, and I didn't quite like what I'd done. So this was pecan pie with a pecan pie ink, and it gets a little bit lost. Later on, I tried it with early espresso, and I feel that looks nicer because you can actually see the outline more. And then I thought, oh, try and color it with blends. So this is how I colored it with blends. So I stamped it in early espresso, which isn't Memento ink, but it didn't smudge, so that was good. Colored it in pecan pie, but then some of the undertone shadows bits I did in crumb cake. So you can see the 3 different deers and what you like. But this was coloring in with the blends, which I thought was quite nice. And I've tried to sort of have some darker, some lighter. You can slightly see more lines then. That was before I started doing the circle motion more. So we kind of learn. But yeah, so just some thoughts with colouring with blends. So there you are. So back to our card from today. And that was using the Country Flowers stamps and dies. And our sentiment was using the Simply Says. All right, let me move my blends out the way so I can come back to my other screen to finish off. Any questions? It's good to see that some of you enjoy colouring with blends and things yourself. Whoops, my mouse does not want to move. Okay, let's have a look. Trying to get my camera back on. Yay, here I am. Cool. So thank you for joining me today. I appreciate you being here. Hope you've enjoyed some tips and things with colouring with blends. If you have any questions, do let me know. If you like any of the product, blends or the Country Flowers set or anything like that, do reach out to me if you don't already have a demonstrator. Also, if you need catalogues and things too, I have those available, both the annual and the Christmas. So thank you for your time today. There are new kits out for this month, and one of them is a colouring one. It's using watercolour pencils, and pencils come as part of that card kit as well, so that's cool. So you may like to check that out. Just trying to think what else is happening. There was so much happening last month. It's a little bit quieter this month, but yeah, if you subscribe to my newsletter, then you'll be kept up to date with all that is happening. So thank you for your time. I look forward to seeing you again soon. Remember, if you've got any questions or if anything in particular you'd like me to show you, let me know, and maybe I can share something that you're interested in on one of my lives. All right, thanks so much for being here, and we'll see you again soon. Bye.